I am indeed, and they are very sleepy this morning. They're doing what lions do best and are just absolutely comatose. The two of them are lying under a very grey sky, and I suppose if there was a day for lions to be sleepy, today is that day. It's complete bed weather this morning. There's this misty rain blowing in, a cold wind, and very, very overcast, so I don't blame them too much. Oh, we have an ear flick. Well done. It's about the most action we've had in a while, so very nice from this lioness to flick her ear for us. Now, it must be that there is a fly that is irritating her. Now, we did have some elephants way in the distance that were moving around, but they were behind those lions towards where that dead tree is on the right-hand side, and I think that those elephants are probably moving parallel, but I'm hoping that they might come out, because that will definitely make a little bit of a scene. The elephants won't appreciate the lions being so close, and so hopefully they come out and give the lions a little bit of motivation to move. Although generally when lions are in this kind of mood, all they do is run from the elephants for about 100 meters and then they flop back down again and are not too concerned. Sean, you're wondering if lions are more active at certain times of the year. Well, no, not really. Being predators, they hunt any time of the year. The thing is in the summer months, their period of activity during daylight hours is far less. So in winter, they're active more during the day because of the cooler temperatures. So that's maybe the only difference. But other than that, there's no sort of change between summer and winter. The sort of movement of the animal is the same. They still scent mark. They still will patrol the same areas. They'll still make use of the night to do a lot of their hunting. So it's not really too much of a difference between winter and summer. You might find in other areas, so in places like Botswana or Zambia, where you've got marsh and floodplains, when you start to get wet seasons and the area starts to flood, that those cats then move into a different place to be able to sort of sustain themselves during that flooded period, because they're not going to wait around all day long, so they might shift their territories. But here in the Sabi Sands, we don't have any of those issues, so these lions are more than capable of just staying where they are, and their sort of movement pattern and their behavior is very similar from winter to summer. Now, I wonder what we've got hovering here. You see here, Craig, we've got two birds hovering. Oh, they've just dipped down now. I wonder what those are. There have been quite a few dusky larks around, so I think that's what it is. Indeed, it's a dusky lark. Yeah, it's just landed just in front of us here. So you see where there's that dark pile of grass there? And there we go. There you go, Craig, you got him. So that's the little dusky lark that was hovering. It's really, really nice to see them. They're quite a pretty lark. Larks are generally quite nondescript and have very few markings. They look like little brown jobs, as they described, which is not very easy to kind of ID them. But the dusky lark has got a little bit more color. You can see it's got that streaking on the chest and that white little belly, and then those quite camouflaged wings. So they're quite a pretty little lark, and they've only really arrived now also with the rains. We haven't seen too many of them prior to about a month ago. So nice that since the rains have arrived, lots of new birds that have come in, the monotonous larks, these dusky larks. It's been very, very cool to see. Now, interestingly enough, yesterday morning when I was here, there was masses of swallows that were flying around. We had clouds of them, and I wonder if they did not work out that there was a bit of a storm coming in and a front coming in, because this morning there are very, very few of them. And I wonder if they didn't know that this is going to start, that conditions are changing, we're starting to go into our winter months, and that they actually left yesterday, that big sort of swarm of them coming together, that they started to then shift further north to where the conditions will be better and it will be slightly warmer. Be interesting to see if they do come back, but it's definitely noticeable how fewer there are today than there were yesterday. Now, our lions are still fast asleep. They've not moved very much at all, and it doesn't appear like the elephants are coming this way as well. I can't see them anymore. Nancy, they do look so cozy. I'm actually a bit jealous. I think on a day like today, it would be nice to have a big thick mane and curled up in a ball like that. It is quite chilly this morning, is probably the best way to put it. There's this very sneaky cold wind, so they do look very, very cozy, and don't they look like a nice little couple, the way that they're lying, the two of them the same way. Very, very sweet. Octogirly, we do have a positive ID on the male. This is Nena, so it's the sort of largest of the Birmingham boys as far as I see. I mean, there might be other people who beg to differ, but he's definitely got the most impressive mane of the four of them, and he's easy to ID. You see there in the middle of his head, he has a very black line that runs through his mane, so that's one of the IDing features that I use. It's very clear, especially when he puts his head up. It almost looks like somebody's taken a black spray paint and sprayed straight down the middle of his head. So it will change as he gets older and that darkens up. It's going to be a little bit difficult to use that as an ID feature, but that's just the one that I use at the moment. So that's who it is. The other two Birmingham boys that were here last night, because we're in the same area as James had them last night and I had them in the morning. I'm not sure where they've gone. I haven't heard any updates from them or where their tracks went even. I don't think anybody even knows, but they've moved off. They're not anywhere in this area, and the other two Styx females with the two cubs have also moved off. So I'm sure they've probably headed back a little bit further to the east. The one female has the new cubs, so she's going to be going to try and probably suckle them. Although yesterday, and I only thought about this last night, is that I did not see any very clear suckle marks or milk being produced by any of the three lionesses. Considering how young those lions, the cubs, should be, I mean, they were only spotted a month ago and they were absolutely tiny at that stage. Those cubs should be still heavily on milk, so the female that has got them should be producing quite a bit. And I didn't see any lioness yesterday with swollen teats. There was one female that had suckle marks that were old, so the hair was starting to grow back. So I wonder if maybe during that rain that we had, that potentially she lost her cubs, because she had them in a very deep drainage line, and I wonder if maybe a sort of flood came down and maybe killed those little ones, because I didn't notice any sort of signs of milk at all yesterday. But maybe that's where they've gone this morning, is to go back that side. Sheila, the chance of seeing lions mating, well, I would say is quite good. This is now the sort of courtship phase. Yesterday we saw them all with the pride and there was no sort of interest, but today they've sort of changed, so maybe her estrus cycle is starting and that's why they're lying together. He's definitely keeps sniffing her and grooming her, so he does want to mate with her. So the chances of them mating is very good. Maybe by this afternoon she's ready to be mated and they will then start to mate. So maybe it's worth tuning in this afternoon to see if they do. I don't think they're going to mate this morning. There's not enough sign of it yet this morning. When the females are really in estrus, they will initiate the mating. So they're the ones that will go rub up on this male, present their backside towards him, and then he starts to mount her. But the chances are very good. Within the next day or two, I would imagine that these two will be mating, which will be good for us. It's always good when we have mating lions. One, because it's a spectacle. Two, because it means cubs that follow that. And with the Styx pride, the more cubs they can have, the better. Their pride numbers are very, very low, and there's not very many left of them. So we need as many as possible for the pride to continue and to grow. Wild bull. This is an interesting one. I actually wonder, you're asking if they sleep the soundest of all the animals because of the no threats to them. Well, it's not that they don't have any threats, and they probably don't sleep the soundest. If you make any sort of sound here, or if an elephant broke a branch, you'd find that these lions would wake up quite quickly. They have to be aware of their environment, because other big male lions could move in here and catch this male unawares. A different pride could come in here and catch the female unawares, and so that's why they've got to be alert and aware of their environment all the time. In terms of the soundest sleepers, I would say that probably the ones that have least to worry about would be elephants, but they really don't sleep for long periods of time at all. So in terms of period of time, yes, the lions most definitely sleep the longest, but I don't think they're the soundest sleepers. They've got to be very alert to their environment and what's going on around them. Well, isn't that nice of this male? He's almost using his mane as a blanket to cover her face. She must be loving that, so it'll be nice and warm. Use his body heat to stay warm. So that's quite a cute little picture, that. No. What Steph, we actually don't. So what Steph is asking if we ever see lionesses with manes. I have never seen one here in the Sabi Sands. I do not know of any in the Sabi Sands, or ones that have been seen in the greater Kruger Park area. Now the lioness with the mane was seen in Botswana, the last one that I heard about. So that's where they did have one. But here in the Sabi Sands, no, we haven't seen any lionesses with manes. We just have lionesses with no tails here. That's the only sort of abnormal lioness visual that we have, and that was from a female that lost her tail to hyenas. Herbert, you're wondering if lions get grey hair. Well, no, not in the sense that people do, but you'll find that when they get older, they start to lose a little bit of coloration around the muzzle. So the muzzle starts to lighten up a little bit, and it doesn't go grey, it just goes a much lighter colour. So much like you'll see on older dogs or cats, but they don't get the grey hairs that you would typically associate with a dog when it gets very, very old. It's a little bit different. Oh, and now we're down. I think that's it for the morning. He's now tucked himself up, and the two of them are completely flat. I do not think they're going to move too much from now. I think that's going to be time out for the day. Right. So while these two have a little nap, I'm going to stay a little bit longer and see if maybe they do wake up, because it looks like the sun might come out. If the sun comes out, that might stir them a little bit. And while we do that and sit here patiently waiting, let's go across to the man who was looking for these lions this morning and didn't have much luck, and see what his next plan of action is going to be.
Tristan, yeah, we don't have much luck with lions, but I'm listening out. I'd like to show you there's a little bird that's calling at the moment. It's called a long-billed crombeck. But I think it's above us at the moment, and that will not be good because we won't be able to show you it because of the roof. But I can't see it yet. There's actually a few flying around here. Don't find a bird, Dave, that I don't know. There's a little weaver. There's a weaver in there. Looks like a village weaver that possibly, and why I say village weaver is also because we're very close to Chitwa Dam, and I think these weavers all come in and look for vegetation and food to take back to the nest. Let me just show you a picture of that little long-billed crombeck. Beautiful little bird. There's some elephant here too. Have a look at this little guy. That's what's making that noise. Little crombeck. Now, interesting thing with this bird is it's got very little to no tail. Well, it's got a tail, but it almost looks like it hasn't got a tail at all. I'll just have a look. Even there, very, very short, stumpy tail, and there you can see it too. But that is the one that is calling like that, going tree, 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 tree. See, he even replied, so my call must be very, very good. But I do think he's above us, unfortunately, and I can't see him. He's in this knobthorn. There's an acacia nigrescens next to us. Knobthorn, very, very thick though, and I can't see him for the moment. Just move forward a second now, hold on. Let's just have a look here. A lot of little birds flying around, still plenty of monotonous larks, but I think that crombeck is hiding from us for the moment. Now, I did manage to find that grass that one of my favorite grasses, and here it is. Have a look at that. Hang on a second. Sorry, a whole herd of elephant just ran past us. I wonder what spooked them. Let me just have a look quickly. Hang on, stick with us, everyone. There is a road back here. Let's just go and see. Let's investigate here quickly. but this whole herd of elephant took off and ran away from this area, and the Franklin alarm called. Now I don't know if the Franklin got a fright because of the elephant running through the bush, but let's have a look. I wonder, it didn't make a sound, they just turned and ran. I don't want to get in the way of a running elephant, but let's just have a look. Alright, let's quickly head back to Tristan and those lions. I'm going to have a look around here and we'll see you shortly.
Well, the lions haven't done much. I hoped the sun starting to peer through the clouds was going to make a difference, but as you can see, very little difference has been made, and the lions are still sleeping. But I am going to just move slightly. Sorry, Craig, I know you've just gone in there, but let me move slightly, just so we can actually see the male's head and get a sort of visual on his head, and if he does decide to wake up, it will be quite nice. But from there, Craig, should be quite cool, and it's a nice backlight of the sun coming out as well, which is very cool. There we go. As you can see, he's fast asleep, and even the movement of the car has not waken him up. Woken him, not waken is not the right use of English. I'm sorry, James Henry, please don't shout at me. He's not woken up. There we go, now he's awake. Tad, you're wondering whether the brothers will fight over mating rights. Well, they will. The coalition members will go after one another and fight one another for mating rights with these females. We've seen it quite a few times with the Birminghams, where they've gone at one another over a female. So a lot of those scars are actually from that. They end up in a situation where they attack one another to try and get the female. Now the thing is, generally, is the male that's got the kind of biggest mane and bulk and is the aggressor normally wins that and intimidates the others, and that's normally the case, and that's why probably Nena is with this female and not either Mfumo or Tinyo that was here yesterday. But sometimes you'll find that there is a smaller male that is just so much more aggressive that he ends up being the one that gets to mate. And what you'll find with these females is that they're very clever. They know that, okay, there's 4 different males. They'll try and mate with all 4 of those males, so that if they have their cubs, that those female or those males don't think that they didn't mate with her, and therefore are not able to produce those cubs and will then kill them. So you'll find that these females will actually try and mate with all 4 of them at a time, which is quite interesting. And they do that by basically mating with one male for a few days and then taking a break for a while and then finding another male, and they just keep going through it until they've gone through all 4 boys. Oh, hello. Good morning, Mr. Lion. Are you now awake? He is really a spectacular specimen. He's beautiful. Shannon, you're wondering if I've ever seen an adult male lion without a mane. Not here in the Sabi Sands or in the Kruger system, but I have seen one in the Tsavo East National Park in Kenya. So there is quite thick terrain in the northern part of Tsavo East, and there's a few male lions that walk around there with very, very, very small manes. It's almost nondescript. They almost look like those males when they're about a year old, and their mane is just kind of on their chest a little bit and a little bit of fluff, but not really maneless completely, no. But the male that I did see literally had a little bit of long hair on his chest and a little bit coming down his cheeks, but it really wasn't that noticeable. If you had seen him from distance, you would have definitely thought female, and it's only when you got up a little bit closer that you could see that he had this very small mane. And they reckon it's because of the terrain there. The very, very dense, thick bush means that the thorns are constantly pulling at that hair and pulling out chunks of it, and that's why the manes don't develop very well at all in that area. Well, actually, some of the most famous lions in the world are from that Tsavo region, which was the man-eaters of Tsavo. They're in the Chicago Museum, funnily enough, and so they were also maneless males that have gained some sort of fame across the world for eating a number of people, unfortunately. That couldn't have been a very pleasant time. But yeah, they are fast asleep. There's not too much going on. I think he was just looking around just to see what's happening. There's a car came in and left, and so just checking that there's no other sort of interesting things to see or to worry about. There was some impalas earlier on that were around, and they've all moved off. So he's lost interest a bit in what's going on, and I think that's where he's going to rest for the day. You can see in the background a little blacksmith lapwing coming towards us, making a vicious and fast approach towards these lions, and these lions haven't seen it coming. Now, from one bird to another, let's go across to Byron very quickly before it flies away.
And a beautiful bird, Tristan, at that, the African fish eagle, perched in the tree close to Chitwa Dam, or next to Chitwa Dam. Sure, it's actually quite chilly this morning. So just an update on those elephant running. I'm not sure what startled them. We had a look, but they settled down very quickly again. So I don't know if perhaps one got a fright and turned, and then the rest decided to run. But they didn't run very far, and they stopped again. They're just feeding in the bush, not far from the dam. So I'm not sure what it was. Nice to see that fish eagle. And wouldn't it be amazing to see it swoop down and try to catch something? That's an Egyptian goose. Let's see if it lands. And then there are a lot of hippo. And have a look just to the right. There we go, around this little island. Now I saw some baby hippo in there. There's one or two adults over there. Oh, there's a black crake that was walking on the branches to the back. A bit difficult to see now. I wonder what that hippo is doing. Is it actually feeding on something there? But if you look at... I actually don't know what it's doing. There was a black crake. Now, I would love to show you that black crake. It was walking on those branches behind that hippo. Looks almost like that younger hippo is chewing a little bit on the on some of the branches of the tree. Maybe there's a bit of vegetation that it's feeding on. You can see it is a younger hippo though, much smaller than a big adult. But there are definitely a few babies in here too. We saw them the other day. And I can see one now. Dave, if we come just a little bit left to the start of this island, where this little island begins. There, just zoom into that little bush on the right. Right down there, a little bit left, there we go. See the baby hiding there? Look at that. I found you. It's just hiding on the edge. I think the mother is there too. You might see her head stick up soon. But often what they do is they try to stay close to these branches or islands so that they can keep their head above water. There's the adult. There's the female. And that little baby, isn't that amazing? So cute. It's interesting, the hippo actually give birth in the water. They do give birth in the water, but then very soon get the little calf out of the water, and then keep them very close by. Let's quickly head over to Tristan. He's got the jackal again. I wonder if it's a side-striped jackal.
Well, we did have a jackal, but it ran away, I'm afraid. I'm going to try and find them and reposition myself so that we
Okay, sorry, I think Tristan had a jackal and it disappeared quickly, but if he gets it again, he'll let us know. And he's still just sitting with these hippo, and as I was saying, these mothers look after their calves very, very well for the first few years. Keep them close by. Those calves will often rest their heads on the back of the mothers or lie on the back of the mother, of the adult, in deeper water. Or rest, as we saw here, just resting on the branches there. Where have they gone? And earlier, just before those elephant ran past us, I was chatting about grass and my favorite grass. And I managed to find some, so I did pick it to show you. And I'm sure you have seen this particular species before. But this is the Natal red top, or Melanus repens. And it's got a beautiful fluorescence. Inflorescence, sorry. These little flowers, I suppose you could call it, on the grass itself, but they do go a beautiful reddish, pinkish red color a certain time of the year, and that is why it is known as the Natal red top. But it's incredibly soft, very, very soft, and it is one of my favorites. I really do enjoy seeing it. And if you get almost like in a clearing, you can sometimes get a lot of these grasses, and you get that beautiful orange, purple, reddish, pink color. The wonderful colors of this Natal red top, and it's great to see. So speaking about all the grasses, let's head back to James and see if he's got a cup of coffee or more grass.
I don't have a cup of coffee. I've had my coffee until breakfast time. I will have another one then. We have got two things I wanted to show you. The first is this flower, which I have yet to identify, which is not surprising. I used to think that it was I think that's actually not the flower. That's not the flower. That's the open seed case. So the seed case is opened, and in fact what we'll do is take one of those and open it up in the tent. And it makes a very pretty whitish purple flower, this, and I don't know what it is. So Judy H, if you are watching, well, please help me. Help, please. Can you? Thank you. Then over here, we have got something that has made a home, not on a grass, but on a leaf. You see that there? And because it looks like it's already been vacated, there's a hole in it. I'm going to pick it, and we're going to go and put it under the microscope. Now, normally I wouldn't do that unless I was pretty sure that whatever it was had gone. So let's go back to the tent. Watch out here, Bim. The elephants have left a number of booby traps in the area. We'll pop it under the microscope and have a look, see what's going on inside. I just want to quickly, if you don't mind, Megan, just quickly show us this tick once more. It's too amazing. Hey, look at that. I just think that's quite astonishing. Yeah, that's the insect and the tick, and where the tick's gone, I'm not sure. Anyway, let's try and Simpkins, you wanted to see the tick under the microscope. Well, there you go. Now, of course, they come in a variety of different sizes, from this size, the brown tick, up to the tick's tick, which I think is probably a pepper tick that's lurking around there. That's just quite astonishing to watch it operate. See, it's pointing at you now, Simpkins. It's saying, "What up?" Or something like that. The tick's saying, "What up with you? Hope you're having a good day there. Aren't you glad I ain't biting you?" Sorry about that. Right, the first thing we'll do is open up this, let me just get my scalpel. Last used, of course, to dissect the owl. It has been cleaned and sort of made, semi-sterilized, should we say, not quite sterilized. So we're just going to open up this carpel. It's got 6 little sort of spots to open it up, 6 seams. Now, you do not want to slip, of course, with the scalpel. It will result in a fairly severe injury. It's actually got 5 seams. That's unusual, I would have thought. I think, well, no, it's not that unusual to find a sort of multiple of 5 in feathers, not feathers, petals. Okay, let's see what's inside here. Here we go. I'll show you first like that, and then we'll have a look under the microscope. Those are the seeds of this beautiful pinkish purple flower, which I cannot find, unsurprisingly, in my flower book. The flower book that I own two. One is very good. It's got about 20 flowers in it, and all of them occur here. That's not one of them. The other flower book I have has about 1,000 species of flowers in it, none of which seem to occur here at all. It's an absolutely pathetic example. Ooh, look at the sea. That's beautiful. It looks like Goldilocks after a sort of time having her hair bleached at the salon. I'm not sure why I came up with that. Please ignore if that's not what it looks like to you. But those are definitely 4 hairy seeds, I think. And they will probably be put to the wind, or they would have been put to the wind, when the fruit burst open, or when the seed pod burst open. And these seeds, with those hairs on them, would have been put to the wind, transferred into the top of the soil layer, and there they would have waited. It's an annual plant. There they would have waited until next year, or if we have more rain now, then I suppose they would have grown up now, but most likely they will wait until next year, and there's a very solid sort of covering of rain and a good soaking into the surface layer of the soil. Most of them, of course, will not germinate. Most of them won't get close to germinating. They'll be eaten, they'll lie in the sun and be destroyed, or they'll simply desiccate out or never find enough water. And I'm not sure how long they can last, but there are many seeds out here, many of the grass seeds specifically, that are able to spend years in a dormant state. So if there is a drought, for example, as we saw on quarantine clearings, there's a fly, earlier on this year, late last year, that was when we had the height of our drought, there was no vegetation cover on quarantine whatsoever. And it's difficult to imagine how many millions of seeds there are in the soil layer. As soon as water came, up came the plants. So there's a huge seed bed. Alrighty, let's head back to Byron at the dam. I didn't find any Natal redtop, and I still haven't found any signal grass, but maybe he will bring some back for us.
I'll try to bring some Natal redtop back for you, James. We're just watching these swallows. I'm trying to get a good look at them to identify them. And it looks like they are barn swallows. The hippo agrees, barn swallows. So difficult to see. Dave, did you see those sitting on the tree over there?
No, I missed it.
So go a little bit right to where that young hippo was, and then the tree on the left-hand side of the. You see, they're all sitting over there. There we go. Maybe we can have a better look. I'm just trying to double check everyone. I don't want to give you the wrong information, but they do look like the barn swallows. Otherwise, no, why am I doubting myself? No need to doubt myself. They are barn swallows. Yeah, definitely. And but they should be migrating soon. They for the migration February, March, so probably start migrating fairly soon. March, April, they then start departing. Even up to May, they will depart and head north for our winter. Lovely to see the barn swallows. They used to be, I think they used to be known as the European swallow, if I'm not mistaken. Double check. These apps often have it used to be the European swallow, but is now referred to as the barn swallow. And that's what these are all here flying around us. Nice to do birding at these dams, and it's so funny. Every time we come here, I tend to see something different. The last time I was here, there was that flock of what are they called? I've hit a blank. What do those birds call again? There was a flock of the name will come to me, I'm sorry. But and then the Botanical, thank you, Lou. Yes, they were the collared Botanicals. That's what it was. So we had a whole flock of Botanicals over here, which I'd never seen before. And they were just around, and they've disappeared now. I don't see them anymore. But then all these village weavers, there are village weaver nests everywhere at the moment. Those beautiful yellow weavers. Those are the buffalo weavers, but then underneath and at the back you can see the village weavers. There's actually one in the nest there. So a lot of bird activity around here, and it's constantly changing, which is great. Lucy from Indiana, hippo do indeed keep their eyes open underwater. They will open their eyes underwater so that they can see where they are going. And I know it always looks like they close their eyes as soon as they go under, but when they are under, they do open their eyes. I was hoping to see that fish eagle take off and soar across the dam for us, but it looks like the fish eagle's actually just getting cold, like we are. It's very chilly this morning. What, Lady Erin, you asked a question about these fish eagles, and you wanted to know, are the females much larger than the males? Now, I don't think so. And if I'm not mistaken, I think the male is larger than the female. Now, they don't... With birds, they don't usually give a size difference or weight difference between male and female. They'll give a general size or weight, and that's about 2.5 kilograms for the fish eagle. But from what I've seen, when they are together, the male is definitely slightly bigger than the female. Listen to the hippo. And speaking of all these different bird species that are around now, the monotonous larks which have shown up, and they are wandering around, flying about, making a huge noise. Well, not really a noise, but they just never stop. The sound just continues and continues. I'm scanning these areas around here, having a look to see what there is. 1 or 2 waterbuck that have wandered out right directly opposite us. Through there, Dave. Oh, there we go. There's a waterbuck walking around there. Now, I wonder where these crocodiles are. I did see one. Was it yesterday? I think I did see a crocodile here yesterday morning. So those big crocodiles, because we have seen some rather large crocodiles, they are definitely in here somewhere, but potentially just hiding. No, it's an interesting name. Tormented zombie owl. Now, sorry, I didn't hear the beginning of that question. Megan, if you could just give it to me again. What? Yes. Yes. So, tormented zombie owl. Yes, the monotonous larks do call a lot at night. And are they at risk at being eaten? Well, I mean, there are a lot of little nocturnal birds that would potentially prey on the little larks, owls mainly. But also these larks are small and they're quite agile, and and I think even with them calling at night, I don't think they draw enough attention that the owls will be able to catch them. Those birds are rather quick and they do move around. So, and you find they probably just sit somewhere on a tree and call, and it's actually difficult to pinpoint exactly where the call is coming from. I'm sure those owls are much better at it than we are, but there might be a slight risk, but I don't think it's a massive risk. You don't often hear of the owls going and hunting other little birds on the wing or while they're flying around. But yeah, I suppose there could be a small risk, and probably mostly to animals like genets, little genets. Wandering around in the evening looking for food. They climb a tree and there's a lark calling. They might try and catch one of those. I might sit here a little bit longer. There's a lot going on. See if there are any other interesting birds we can find. While I do that, let's head back to Tristan, see what he is up to and whereabout he is now.
Well, we've come back towards Djuma because we lost reception, unfortunately, and signal with our little jackals that were playing away. They ran quite far into the thickets, so we didn't get too much of it. But otherwise, we're just looking around, just trying to see if in this weather it's possible that Karula's walking around and moving around, but no sign of anything just yet. Now, I believe a lot of you also saying that that lion was not Nena, it was Nsuku, which it could very well be. I'm no expert when it comes to the Birminghams. I've hardly seen them in the last 6 months, so he could be massive and bigger maned than how I remember him. So if it is Nsuku, I do apologize, everybody. I'm very sorry that I misidentified him, but like I say, it does happen. I think the last time I saw Nsuku must be maybe a year ago. Yeah, somewhere around there. So yeah, it's been a long time. I haven't seen him in ages, so it's good to see him again and see how big he's gotten. He's much larger than I remember him, and his mane has definitely developed a lot more. He looks very much like Nena that did a few months ago. So like I say, I do apologize, guys. I'm very sorry. We do make mistakes from time to time, particularly when it comes to the male lions. Although Fumo is quite easy these days. He's so battered and bruised. The poor guy looks like he's had a really tough time of it in the last few months. He's got that big sort of gash that he had under his eye, and then he had that hole in his face, and looks like there's quite a few other little scars on him from scrapping around. Now, there is a beautiful roller in the tree here. Just here on top, Craig. There we go, top left. There it is. Well done, Craig. So there is our European roller that is sitting beautifully perched on this branch. It unfortunately is all puffed up because of the horribly cold weather that we've got this morning, and I reckon that this cold snap is going to be the last straw for a lot of our migratory birds. So things like cuckoos, these rollers, this is going to cause them to start moving away and off. Now we've got another little bird that's just joined the fray on slightly up, which I think is a rattling cisticola, but I just need to have a look a little bit closer with my binoculars. Very difficult because it's all puffy, but it looks like a rattling cisticola on top of the branch. Also the way the tail is twitching like that, that is typical of the rattling cisticola. Very nice. So it's nice for birds this morning because it's so cold. All the birds are sitting down on the ground and are spending most of their time low down, which makes it much easier for us to see them and get them onto the camera, which is good. I wonder where Karula is. Like I say, I've asked the guys in the south, the west, the east. Nobody can give me an update on where she is. I wonder if she's not gone way out of her territory to start mating. Now, that's my theory. Maybe others will tell me that I'm completely wrong and that she's still got cubs, but I have a funny feeling that she's starting to. Maybe it's just a false estrus, or maybe she's just. But often this is what happens. I remember once we found Karula on the Londolozi Singita Elephant Plains boundary. Now, from where we are here in the core of her territory, that is very, very, very far away, and she was there because she was walking with Tingana. That was back in the day when Tingana spent most of his time in the west. And so she spent a few days in that area, very, very far from her territory. So maybe that's where she is. Maybe she's gone a little bit further south, and that's why we're not seeing her. Although, there's so many, all the other reserves are around us, they would be able to pick it up and let us know where she is. So it's a bit strange, but I'm hoping that she does appear again and pops out and we do find her in the next few days. Now I'm going to go through a little bit of a difficult area where the signal is not very good, so before I go there and we have to crash cut away from me and with a black screen, let's go to James in the tent and see what he's up to.
I'm cutting open a piece or the gall of a gall wasp that lives in the silver cluster leaf and hoping to find some evidence of it, but no, nay, negative. Just the vacated home of a ghost gall. There it is. I'm afraid there's nothing in there, but you can see a bit of silk where whatever it was lived. And this wasp stings the end of the tree, so if you come back to me I'll show it to you. If you come back to me, I'll show it to you. There we are. Good. And that's where it sits on the tree. And you can see where the gall wasp has stung the tree and injected it with hormone. And that's created this swelling. And then into it, it has burrowed, laid its eggs, the larvae have hatched, grown up into wapses and flown off to sting further silver cluster leaf trees. At the same time, on the same silver cluster leaf, VM found, a very attractive arrangement of water droplets, which we'll look at under the microscope, and another kind of a growth, the origins of which are unclear to me right now. Before we look at that though, sorry, one second, we have a few things to show you now. There is a caterpillar that has managed to find its way here, but it won't sit still. Nope, never mind. Okay, fine. Go on. It's the fastest caterpillar in the world, as VM says. Okay, let's have a look at this other piece underneath the microscope. Come now. There we go. So that there also seems to be some kind of a sting, I think, that has been inflicted upon the silver cluster leaf. And the reason I think it's part of the silver cluster leaf, I don't think it's grown out of the silver cluster leaf, is that it has the same silver hairs on it. See that? Quite astounding. And it looks sort of pustular and inflamed, doesn't it, with that red colour and orange. And yes, it's quite attractive, but when you look at it at this scale, it looks like a sort of red patch on a piece of skin, which you don't really want. Now let's just move this slightly and have a look at the water droplets. Why is it so peaceful to look at water droplets like that? Isn't that nice? The exposure very slightly, because I think if I drop it slightly it'll look better. Okay, menu. There we are. Yes, there we go. That's much better. Isn't that pretty? Good. Well, that's the silver cluster leaf. Now, Judy H., you were wondering about the plant that I asked you about and what it looked like, what its leaves looked like under the microscope. We can definitely look at that. Here is the plant. There it is. It used to have sort of purplish flowers on it. So what we'll do is look at the purplish flowers first. Well, the bud of the flower. There you go. And that is there, the flower, Judy H. while we answer the question of report globe. Is that right? Report globe. Yes, report globe. Do plants get tumors? They do, but normally they're inflicted by insects. So I mean, I've seen a few plants. For example, there's an enormous marula tree. Where is it? It's got looks like a horrible sort of cancerous growth on it, and I forget exactly where it is. But yes, there is a very large marula tree that has a cancerous growth on it, looks like. Is it cancer? I don't know. Would it affect the tree and kill it? Probably not, of course, because the tree doesn't have organs that are in specific places like ours. So what you'll probably find is that the plant will just sacrifice whatever piece of it happens to be infected. But I'm afraid I don't know exactly what causes those things, that uncontrolled cell growth, of course, which is basically the definition of what a cancer is. Okay, so now let's have a look at the leaves, Judy H. Let me just lift this up slightly. If we do lose focus, I apologize. There's a leaf for you. There you go. Very serrated hairs, and I'll just try and turn it around slightly so that you can see the dorsal side. Ooh, sorry everyone. I do apologize. We'll get there eventually. Oh, no, there's a fruit in the way. Oh.
Looks like a tennis ball.
It does look like a tennis ball. Oh, Megan, I do apologize. I do apologize for this, Megan. Let me take the fruit off for a second. In fact, let me just take the whole leaf off. It's going to make it much easier. Okay, there we have the dorsal side of this leaf. There we go. It is really rough. And it's quite sticky too. I think those sort of shiny bits there next to the hairs are bits of sort of sticky type glue. So that's what they are. And then if we just lift it up again, we'll have a look at the ventral side. Or the oh no, you see there's a little thing there. Look at that, a little aphid. See the little aphid? Just crawling along the surface there, along the side. Oh, that's wonderful. Even smaller than that tick that we found. Let me try and get it further under there. I'll see if we can. There it is. It's hiding from us now. Let me try and turn it over. Oh. Yes. There we go. There's the little aphid. You can see it moving along. Oops. This is very delicate work, everybody. I know that it looks like I'm just incompetent. Well, in some cases, I suppose that's true. Anyway, Judy H., that is the leaf of this mystery plant. Don't know what it is. All right, Byron has yet to leave the waterhole. I'm assuming that he's got something else fascinating that he's found over there to show you.
On top of that dead tree. I'm scanning constantly to find something new and interesting, and I think I've just managed to get something. There's hippo still enjoying the water, staying in the water, but have a look over there. A beautiful brown snake eagle perched on top of that dead tree. That's nice. It's just flown in. I do really enjoy the brown snake eagle, and this is actually a lovely view of it because it's not considered a true eagle. Now, the reason for that, true eagles are eagles that have feathers that go all the way down the leg. Now, if you look at this brown snake eagle, the feathers do not. Do you see he's got long legs that are bare. There are no feathers going down. So that's the kind of the distinguishing factor between a true eagle and a non-true eagle, if you can call it that. But I mean, it's just a classification, really. They're all considered eagles. But one of the main reasons that brown snake eagle probably doesn't have feathers down its legs is similar to that of the secretary bird. Now, the secretary bird walks around and hunts snakes. We know they've got those long legs, and they'll tramp on snakes or reptiles and feed on them in the long grass. But they also do not have feathers going all the way down their legs. And these brown snake eagles, we know, try to catch snakes in that. And one of the reasons why they do not have feathers going all the way down their legs is because there's very little blood that actually runs through those legs. They've got thick scales, very thin bloodstream that runs down, and that is so that if they are bitten on the leg, they do not get envenomated. So the venom will not affect them, or they won't be harmed if they are bitten on those legs with the thick scales. And again, because of that very little bloodstream, so it's difficult for the venom to get into their bloodstream. So that would be my theory on the brown snake eagle too, but it's definitely the case for the secretary bird. So I'm not sure, but I do think that it's got something to do with it for the brown snake eagle. Now, it's getting very chilly this morning. I do have a bird list, Megan. So, as I was saying, it's getting quite chilly here now. The wind is blowing across this dam, and it is quite cold this morning. Still very overcast. As you can see, it's still quite cloudy around us. I'm going to move on from the dam, and let's see what else we can find. While I do that, Tristan has got some hyena to show you.
We do indeed, Byron. We've come to the den on this very cold morning, and look, Ribbon is with her little youngster, and they've been having a little nap, it looks like. Now, I don't know where the other one is. It's just the one that I can see at the moment. Maybe the other one has decided this is far too cold and ridiculous to be outside, and has had a good feed and then run back into the mound to go and have a good rest inside the mound. Now, please don't go, Ribbon. We just got you. Ribbon has had a good meal. Oh, she's limping a little bit as well, which is interesting. She's definitely had a good meal because the smell coming off her is smelling like rotten flesh. It does not smell good at all. So I think Ribbon definitely had a good meal. Her belly looks quite full as well, and she's got a little swollen tummy as well, so she's definitely had something to eat. Now, I know a lot of you have been asking us to come check on the den the last few days, and yesterday morning I said I would do it, and I didn't get around to it, unfortunately, with the lions and the jackals, but we've come today, and they are looking so big already. It seems like they've grown since I last saw them. Last time I saw them was about a week ago, and they already look a lot larger. The spots seem to be coming out. Still as curious as ever, though. Look at them peeking around the bush, busy smelling us, and they know that when Mom wanders off a little bit, that they are being naughty by being out the den, and so that's why they're going back towards where the den is. So the den is just round that corner. Now I'm hoping Ribbon hasn't gone far and that she does come back again, so that we can get and spend some time here with these little ones. They're such entertaining characters. Hello. See them peeking around the bush. There it goes. So they are very curious. John, I agree. They're growing at a rate of knots at the moment. They're getting very, very large very quickly now. I think they've run off to the den because they know that Ribbon is gone and that it's not safe to be outside of the den, so they've gone a little bit closer. So I'm just going to try and pull round and just see if I can see where Ribbon's gone, because if Ribbon has left, then generally we don't spend too much time at the den. We don't like to be here with just the little ones and no sign of mom, because ultimately it can be a little bit dangerous. If, let's say, a leopard or lion see our vehicle and come and investigate what's going on, could potentially cause a problem for the little ones. So we tend not to try and view them when they're so small. So a lot of you are wondering if this carcass smell could be maybe they fed off that injured zebra. Well, that very well could be, because there has been no sign of that zebra that I've seen in the last little bit. So the last few days there's been very little sign of that zebra. So maybe it died somewhere where we haven't been able to see, and because we've had very cold, overcast conditions, there won't be too many vultures around either. They won't be in the sky, and so it'll be difficult for us to find it. But that's very, very possible. And maybe if it's not the injured zebra we had on quarantine, it could be the injured zebra that was around Arathusa. There was that one that James had yesterday, so maybe one of those. But we'll definitely look around and see where all the hyena tracks are going. But I know, as far as I know, nobody's found any sign of that particular carcass. Craig, I think I'm going to reposition a little bit, because where we are is not the best side. On the other side is actually better. So while we try and get ourselves a better look here and see where Ribbon's gone, let's go back to Byron, who I believe is on a roll with elephants this morning and has another elephant to show all of you.
I do indeed. Now have a look at this beautiful herd. There are some tiny youngsters around us, but this herd just came out of nowhere. Oh, this is wonderful. And they're going to walk right past us. I'm going to keep my voice down a little bit. Hello? Oh, look at that. Isn't that great? Wow, look at all of them. Have a look at this little one coming through the grass. Oh, that is so cute. Now, we were speaking about the elephant trumpeting and screaming and making a noise. Now, that noise was exactly what I mentioned earlier. Teenager or youngster, just have a look. Well, it's just moving off to the right, but it's trying to get milk from the mother, and the mother wasn't stopping. Have a look at this right here. Look how this young one is trying to protect the baby and wants to make sure that we're not a threat. This is kind of warning us, but still very relaxed and happy. Oh, that's amazing. Swapna, the elephant do indeed give birth to twins. It has happened at times. I've never seen it, but it does happen where elephant can give birth to twins. I do know of it happening. Oh, they're all around us. It's amazing. And off they go. Button's cockatoo. There goes that little baby. Oh, that is cute. That is still very, very young. Just as quickly as they came out, they've disappeared. Now, Button's cockatoo, elephant will... hang on, there's one or two more coming through. I'm just going to sit here a little bit longer. Elephants will suckle up until the age of... I've seen them still suckle up to 3 or 4 years old. And even longer, they will still try their luck and see if they can get milk from the adult. But usually at about 3 years old, 4 years old, they're starting to be weaned off completely. But I have seen elephant a little bit older still try their luck and still try to get milk from an adult. And that was a really, really great sighting to see all those elephant, all those different sizes and ages. Wasn't that special? And they walked right past us. Really, really great. Perfect timing because they've disappeared now. Let's head back to Tristan and those hyena and see what they're up to.
Well, we have a cuteness overload of these two little ones that are just peering at us from their hole in the mound, and they've been playing with what looks like a bone in the background there. You can see the little one has got it in its mouth at the moment, and the other one has been very wary of us. It's been watching very intently, listening to all the sounds that are coming from me and Craig speaking to one another. Craig and I, should I say, sorry. And they have been very, very cute. But like John said just now, I can't believe how big they're getting. You can actually see the spots are coming out day by day. More and more spots are visible. So they're starting to get quite cheeky. And you can see very protective of their bone already. You can see how they try and bully one another to get to the bone. Dory, South Carolina. You're asking, one looks bigger than the other one. Do I think maybe that's a female? Well, it's possible, although if you see there now, they're standing at the same level. Their backs are pretty much the same height, so they're almost the same size. I think that the one closest to us, when I was here the other day, that one looks like it does have small genitalia for a male, so it's obviously very difficult with hyenas, and males and females both possess that. Well, the female has that fake male genitalia, and so it's difficult, but the males tend to have a scrotum with testicles inside, and that's the sort of difference between them and the female. So it looks like that one closest to us is a little male, and then the one at the back a little female, possibly. I mean, it's very difficult. I haven't seen the one at the back properly enough to know what it is, but I think the one closest to us is a little male, and that would make sense because the one at the back, the darker one, tends to bully this little one, the one closest to us, a lot more. You find that one bites it a lot. It also, now with the bone, you can see it pushed it away and has got the bone for itself, and the other one's now taken hold of a stick. So it seems like the darker one could be a female. It is very, very possible, but when they're this age, it's hard to make a 100% call until you get to see them really close up, and I haven't seen the darker one close enough and sort of turned away from me to be able to know whether it's female or male. But just the behavior tends to suggest that it might be a female. Mike, this was quite an interesting one because as somebody that lives inside the reserve, hyena become a part of your life, and you get to sort of spend a lot of time with them because they are interested in camp, and they do come around quite a bit. So you've asked whether or not hyenas sort of shy towards humans, so do they come where humans are? And the answer to that is yes, but not because of the human element. It's because of what we produce. We have all kinds of waste that we produce, particularly garbage from food, from kitchen, and so you can imagine that smell drifts in the air, and the hyenas then sniff it, and they come and they investigate what's going on, and then they come in pretty much nightly, and they get used to the fact that people are around, so they often do come quite close to people, and they're not particularly perturbed by their presence. These little ones is a little bit different because they've never left this den. All they know is this den site, and they're now getting slowly but surely used to the fact that this vehicle comes around and doesn't harm them, and mom doesn't really care too much, and that's why they don't worry about us too much now. But if I had to get out of this vehicle and walk towards them, they would go scampering inside that hole and be very, very scared of me. But come 2 years' time, when they've spent a bit of time walking around and they've been towards the camp, then they'll be a lot less nervous of us on foot. But it's more that they come towards human sort of settlement because of the waste that we have. So, the food and scraps that I was saying that come out of the kitchen, that causes them to come and investigate what's going on. Oh, little bathroom break from that one. It looks like it just marked with the gland. Marco, the curiosity factor doesn't indicate a male or female. You find that sometimes the females tend to be a little bit more brazen and a bit more bold because of that dominant structure. The females are more dominant than the males, and so they tend to be a little bit more bold. But it's not to say that the males won't be. I've had many den sites where both male and female cubs are very curious and they come up and see what's going on. So it's not, you cannot ID or sex them by their curiosity, unfortunately. It would be nice if it was that way and the females were bolder and came closer, but it's not the case. There'll also be different personalities within all of these little ones. So if you had two females, you'll find one will be shyer than the other. And it's the same in lion cubs and leopard cubs. It's the exact same situation, is that you tend to have one sibling that is often a little bit more shy than the other, whether it be male or female. But aren't they cute? I'm quite shocked that they're actually out and moving around quite a bit, because it's very cold this morning. We've got jerseys on and we're all wrapped up and there's a cold wind blowing. So I would have thought they would have been safely bundled inside their termite mound, staying nice and warm. And look at this one, pasting. So what that hyena is doing, hyenas have a very interesting way of marking. So rather than urinating and defecating, which leaves a chemical scent, hyenas also have a little gland that's underneath their, it's called an anal gland basically, and that gland secretes a little paste that when they walk over a grass stalk like that, the little paste is left there, and that tells all the other hyenas who they are, whether or not they're in heat, if they're a male or a female. So it's very different to a lot of the other animals out here. In fact, there's no other mammal that pastes that like the hyenas do. So very interesting though that the little ones are doing it. You can see they're not actually urinating, they're just walking over the grass and between their legs, and that little gland sits underneath there. So there we go, we can see that little one. See how it's walking over the grass now? And then they'll just deposit a little secretion on that grass and then walk away. Now on the spotted hyena, the secretion is not that noticeable. It's not easy to see it, but on brown hyenas, which we used to get in this area, unfortunately don't get them anymore, they leave a very prominent pasting, and you can see it quite clearly. It's kind of a sort of very light color, white creamy color, and it's on the edge of a grass, typically on roads and places like that. So quite cool to see. And look at how they just disappear in the grass. Once they go in there, they're gone. And you can imagine for them, now that they're getting a little bit older, that they're exploring all this area, it must be so fun to go through all this grass and play around, and there's tree stumps and bite those, and leaves on trees and sticks, and to explore around you must be such an entertainment for these little ones. Yes, they are. Up down, and they lose their nerve a little bit, or the grass gets too long, and back to the den we go. Now these little ones are going to have so much interaction in terms of other animals as well. You're going to find lots of things that are going to come past this den, and particularly now in summer, you're going to get millipedes coming past. There's going to be tortoises, and whatever comes past you is going to have a rough time, because these little hyenas are going to play with whatever they can. They'll first be quite nervous, then they're going to get all over that, much like they have with the vehicle. Then they're going to start being curious and going and sniffing around, and the more it moves, the more that's going to trigger them to play with it. So I've seen a number of tortoises unfortunately lose their life to hyenas. They end up in a situation where they walk towards the den, and they then get played with for hours and bitten and chewed, and the only animal that's actually got the jaw power strong enough to break through those shells is these hyenas. So it's quite amazing actually to see how many actually get killed in these summer months. I remember a den site on Elephant Plains, and at one stage there was I think it was about 6 or 7 tortoise shells that were littered around the den site, that these poor sort of, not poor hyenas, but poor tortoises that had succumbed to these ravenous little mouths that were running around at that stage. There was also, in that den at the time, there was 8 of them, so they were a little mob that ran around, and there was 5 of a similar age. So, and they were very naughty. They used to be like a little gangsters, and they would run around. And the one time they came to Simambili when they got a little bit older, and they were about 8 months old, and they managed to get onto the deck at Simambili and get into all the couches. They chewed 3 different couches, and then they decided that that wasn't enough. They then took a whole bunch of cushions with them and went out into the front of the lodge where there's a pan, and they then pulled all the cushions apart. So when we came down for morning coffee, there's a light that shines over the waterhole. There was just feathers strewn across this whole open area and bits of cushion everywhere, and these hyenas were having a great time. They were running around with cushions in their mouths, throwing things all over the place. It was very funny to watch until I had to phone the boss and the operations manager and tell him that he has to replace a whole bunch of couches, which he wasn't very thrilled about. But it was quite funny to see this sort of behavior, and those five, it then became a game. We had a sort of cat and mouse game with them for months, trying to keep them out and off that deck, because they would just keep coming and chewing. Every bit of new furniture we got was a chew toy. And eventually I had to come up with gate systems that we had to put up at night after the guests went to bed to stop the hyenas coming up. We had to block off certain places. It was quite fun, actually. It was amazing how clever they were and how they figured things out as we would change the parameters, so they would figure it out and then move into a different area. Right, so we're going to carry on watching these cute little guys and see what they get up to. And while we do that, let's go across to James, who's got a little interesting insect.
It's not an insect, it's a spider, everybody. Can you see it there, Viam?
Yep.
It's a green, what I think is a huntsman spider. I'm just going to turn the branch so that Viam can have a proper look at it. How's that?
Yeah, that's good.
Isn't he lovely? Grass coloured, and we've given up looking at the grasses. I've looked at them for quite some time today, and so now we've turned to the silver cluster leaf, and we're enjoying the fruits of our labours. A lime-coloured spider. And this is not a web builder, although they can produce silk, and they'll probably make silk for, I suppose, temporary shelter or for egg sacs. But they will run along here and hunt. They will grab things, probably like the hapless Polyrhacus. Polyrhacus, of course, spends a lot of time on these trees. That is an ant, for those of you who don't know. There, Viam has found one. Is that a Polyrhacus, Viam? Let me have a look. It is indeed. Now the huntsman spider will be waiting for Polyrhacus to walk up there and walk past, and then unfortunately, well, you know what spiders are like. Grab Polyrhacus by the abdomen, suck out the lemon juice-tastic formic acid. There he is. And then his home was over here. You can see they can produce silk. And he's pulled the two leaves together, and I think that's probably where he lives. Nice shelter from the rain, the elements. I imagine you must get quite woozy living on one of these plants, because they're probably, they shake like this in the wind. Imagine your home shook like that in the wind. I imagine it would be fairly unpleasant. Now, I found another tick, so come inside back with me. Leslie, you want to know how big they grow. Leslie, it depends entirely on what they is. The spiders. Right. The spiders grow to that size. That's a fully grown huntsman spider. When they're born, they're probably about so big, and then they grow to about that big. So that's the fully grown huntsman. Now we have another tick underneath the microscope. There it is. Very good. Another brown tick, so not a great diversity of tick species here. And this one seems to have been deputized to carry another grass seed, which is not actually from the plant that it's on. So it's on a herringbone grass, and Safari Andrea wanted to see another tick under the microscope. Well, there you go, Safari Andrea. There you are. So this one has been deputized to carry another grass species' seed, or perhaps even a flower seed. So that's what this one's doing. And of course the reason that we're having such success looking at them under the microscope today is that it's cold. And because it's cold, they are cold-blooded, poikilothermic things, and so they really struggle to move when the weather is a little bit less than very warm. Okay, that's the tick. There we are. You see how I'll let you in a little trade secret here, everybody. And when I look back at the camera, it's the cue to the director to come back to me. So I go, and then they know they need to come back. Good. And then I just wanted to quickly show you this caterpillar that we had yesterday that we think is actually from, unsurprisingly, something called a tiger moth. Not the biplane version, but this is the caterpillar that I wanted to show you earlier that was running around. And the moth is sort of orangey yellow with black stripes, and this certainly looks like a tiger-like caterpillar, and it lives on Crotalaria spherocarpa, or the wild lucerne. Good, there we go, and now let's have a look. The last thing that Byron was showing you was the Natal redtop, and I thought we'd quickly have a look at that under the microscope as well, because it is very pretty, so pretty. Much grass is very pretty, you know. Greatly underrated part of the wilderness. And there it is. Look at those little subtle pink hairs. Oh, that's lovely. Now those are the awns, I think, of the seeds that are inside the Natal redtop. I'm not sure that you might know. I don't think you would describe those as awns. I think they're probably just hairs. What function they serve? Well, almost certainly to catch the wind. And in fact, if we just change the focus slightly to look at the seed on the right-hand side of your screen, there. Oh, come on now. Oh, sorry, everyone. I apologize. There we go. There we go. There's the seed there. You can see that it's one seed per little red cup, and all of those hairs are going to be used to put the Natal redtop to the wind. Okay, let's head across to Byron. He's got a bird.
I had a bird, James. I had a bird. Hang on. It's a beautiful emerald spotted wood dove. Let's see if it comes out again. It just flew down into the long grass, possibly to look for something to eat. And now it is hiding from us. Oh dear. Typical. But we did have a lovely view of the emerald spotted wood dove. There's green markings on the wing, green patches. Don't worry, we'll see what else we can find. I'm sure there's a lot of birds flying around at the moment. Just need some of them to sit still for us. I was just chatting to Dave about a trip I did recently with guests, and how wonderful, the abundance of wildlife within the Sabi Sand area is just amazing. So we were just south of where Djuma is at the moment, so just slightly southwest on Londolozi, and we were there for 5 days, but we saw so much. We saw that because also these areas, as you all know, you constantly get different animals moving in, different lion prides moving through, and down there they've got quite a few lion prides. So we saw about 28 different lions, 3 different leopard, we saw cheetah, which was great. So, and that's just, it's not always a guarantee, but a nice successful trip, which was great. But the Sabi Sands area is just fantastic for wildlife viewing. Anyway, I'm going to say goodbye for this morning. And so from myself and Dave, thanks very much, Dave. We'll see you all this afternoon. Let's head over to Tristan again, who's still with us, Hyena.
Well, our hyenas have disappeared. They've gone over the back of this termite mound. And little ones are exploring. And now without Ribbon very close by, I don't want to go around and chase them and undo all the good work that we've done by spending time with them and getting them relaxed. So I think we're going to leave them and let them explore. Like I say, if Ribbon was very close by, then I would go round, but she's not. I'm not quite sure where she is. She's lying somewhere in the long grass, quite far away. Like I say, I don't want to scare the cubs and let them run into the den and get nervous of the cars again. So we're just going to slowly go out. But what a wonderful morning it was with them. They were very, very cute this morning. Now, hopefully when I start, they don't get a fright and come running. George, you're wondering if hyenas play like dogs. Well, in the sense that they do run around and they bite things and they jump on one another and bite each other and kind of wrestle. Yes, I suppose they are very much like a dog in that regard. Just slightly more powerful and more sort of deadly jaw power that they have, and they're able to do quite a bit of damage. But essentially, yes, they are very much like the dogs in the way that they play. They run around and chase each other, and lots of things that will make them play. So they'll pick up sticks and they'll run with sticks, and they'll play with bones, and so exactly like a dog would. Very, very similar. I think there's a lot of young animals that are quite similar. There's, whenever there's something that's new and interesting, young animals tend to at first be scared of it, but then start to enjoy and start playing and carrying it around with them and sort of pawing at it. So it's quite similar to most young animals in that regard. But these little hyenas are so cute. I'm so glad that they're around. It really is such a nice thing and a wonderful thing to sit at a den site and watch them move around you and watch these little curious minds at work and see them exploring and seeing new things for the first time. It's amazing to watch and amazing to see how interactive they can be. So a lot of the animals out here, obviously we try not to disturb them in any way, but the hyenas have this particular sort of curiosity with people, that they spend a lot of time analyzing us and looking at us, and it's almost like the sighting becomes interactive in a way with them themselves. So it really is so cool to spend time with them and to see them and to sort of watch their behavior unfold and their personalities develop. It's a very special thing. And we've had a great morning. I mean, it's been very good. We had the elephants, we've had lions, we've had the hyenas, we've had the jackals. So it's been really very, very productive. It's been a good weekend. Now we just need the royals to come back for this afternoon. That's all we have time for today, well, for this morning, should I say. So from myself and Craig, goodbye everybody. We'll see you this afternoon on our sunset safari, and like I said, lots to look forward to. We're going to try and see if we can find the royal family, and of course the lions should be around. Maybe they'll be mating this afternoon. So from all of us, from James, Byron and myself, goodbye guys, and hope you have a wonderful day. We'll see you this afternoon.